Welcome to the Total Freedom Podcast, where you can build your total freedom lifestyle and live your life doing what you want, when you want, with whomever you want. And now, here is your host, John Racine.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Total Freedom Podcast. I am super excited for today's guest. This is a guy who has not followed a traditional path to getting to his passion. He actually left his Fortune 500 company to pursue his dream of becoming a professional mini golfer. And he's a very cool guy, and I can't wait for you to hear from him. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show, Karl Barth. Karl, welcome to the Total Freedom Podcast.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've got to say, I talk to a lot of people in my past and in my present. You've got one of the most unique backgrounds of leaving a Fortune 500 to go become a professional mini golfer. Now, I, for one, love mini golf, but did not know there was such a thing as a professional. So tell us how you got here.
Yeah, so that's always the response I get from everybody. So with COVID-19 and doing more interviews and talking with a lot more people and meeting a lot more people, that is the exact response I get when I tell them I'm a professional miniature golfer. They say, I didn't believe that was a thing. How do you even get into something like that? So basically for me on how this all got started is, as a kid, I just loved playing miniature golf. I think one of my earliest memories was getting a toy called Gator Golf. I think I was either 2 or 3 years old. And it was basically this little plastic alligator that you hit golf balls into, and then it would send it back to you. So it was definitely my favorite toy, and that's actually one of the earliest things I can remember in my life. When growing up, anytime I was allowed to choose to do a family activity, it was always miniature golf, to the point where my siblings would go, "Really? We're doing this again? We just did this last time we were out." So that's where I really loved it. And I think the thing about it is that there are a lot of courses around the country and the world. And even though there could be similar designs, every course has its own unique flavor and elements to it. So even though what I would say is cookie cutter designs, just straight hole or around a curve or whatever, there's always some slight nuances that make it that own individual course. So growing up, I decided I wanted to get into architectural engineering. I wanted to do smart home design, sustainable design. So I enrolled for the architectural engineering program at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. After going through a couple courses with that, I realized that architectural engineering doesn't really have a focus on smart home design. So it was more geared towards commercial, designing warehouses, skyscrapers, that type of thing. And that wasn't really what I wanted to do, even though maybe at one point it could lead to some smart home design. I didn't want to have to do 90% of the time something I wasn't interested in to get to what I wanted to do. So I'd switched majors and was fortunate enough to still be on track and graduate on time. And I switched over to a technical communications degree, which was a really cool program, which no longer exists. They swapped it out with a user design program. But what was cool about it is we actually got to experience all the different engineering programs that MSOE had to offer. So we would be doing mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, software engineering, biomolecular engineering, just all sorts of different fields, and really kind of get a base understanding of what that field is like, and which allowed us to communicate basically engineering speak into plain English so other people could understand what they were trying to convey. It was a very small program. When I graduated, it was at 13 students. And I also met my wife in the program. So I always laugh and joke that when, as a couple, we were the majority stakeholders of our program. So if you wanted a decision made, you'd have to go through us.
That's awesome.
And then as I was going to school, I did get an internship with a Fortune 500 company that designs banking software, supports all the financing or a majority of the financing of the payment processing in the country. I was an intern for product documentation. So what that meant was I was handling client-facing documentation, working on edits, trying to get communication and organization for that particular department, get that ready to go and just improve upon what was already in place. And then kind of a cool side project that also evolved from that was that my manager at the time also did usability studies. So we had a usability lab on site, and we would bring in end users and have them go through software. And it was really cool because it was sitting with like the VPs of large bank companies. They'd come in and watch and ask questions. So it was a pretty cool opportunity to have like some of that visibility with some of those higher up people, but then also really learn how to manage a usability study, because over the years it went from me assisting and going to grab the participant a drink or taking out the trash for the room and stuff like that, to actually writing the scripts and programs and actually being the technician in the lab that's running all the equipment and things like that. So it would allow my manager to really focus on asking those prominent questions that needed to be asked. When I graduated, I was offered a full-time position as a business systems analyst, which meant that basically working on the development of the product, I would be going through and figuring out the functionality of how the product would work and what the requirements were from the client to put them in place. So basically, if you wanted to say, I want to be able to pay a person, a bank, a business, how do we make that happen? And then my job was to go work with the developers and the quality assurance analysts and the product managers to make that happen, and then writing that all out and the requirements for the whole project. About 2 years into working that role, I was also offered to take on a second job while I was there, because our technical writer had left. So I took on both the role as a business systems analyst and the technical writer, which turned out I was the lead technical writer because I was the only one. So I really jumped into that, and we used a content management system called DITA. And basically what that did is allowed to catalog content. So you're not always typing everything out. You're keeping things aligned with the same message. And it's kind of just like you're plugging it in to filling out like a form, so that when you're writing something, the communication stays the same, but it has all sorts of different nuances and programming. So like if you're saying, well, this is for a particular client and they don't use the word customer in their documentation, they use client, you can put those settings in to allow it to basically do that. You just have to figure out structuring. So with doing that, I'd really mastered that software program to the point where there was people that were like 20 plus years in technical writing coming to me and asking questions about it, like how can I improve this and how can I improve that, which was pretty cool, because as basically the lowest level in the whole company for an employee for that, it was cool that the so-called specialists in that area were coming to me for advice and ideas on that. I also worked on one of the company's largest projects that they had ever taken on. And it's still kind of a little confusing to me, maybe not, maybe just because I always delivered, but like there was other departments in the company that had teams of technical writers, but here I am working on like the largest product by myself. So I did it. I think I did a great job, and I did deliver. So that always felt good. But it was I felt I was starting to feel burned out in near the beginning of 2019. But that's also what kind of prompted me for making my exit. So in 2017, I had actually started my first kind of side hustle business with miniature golf, and that was a website called Mini Golf Reviews. So I still work on that today, but it's pretty streamlined for the process. I can basically work on that for about 30 minutes a day, and that's all I have to do to make that grow and keep that functioning.
And I imagine with your technical writing background, it makes that piece a lot easier, I would imagine.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So basically what that site is all about is it's kind of a collection of mini golf, anything, whether it's courses, experiences, tournaments, things like that. As I get that information, I share that there. So when I initially started, I was doing full course reviews. So I was going to a course, playing all the holes that they had, taking pictures, documenting like things like, well, this hole is in disrepair, or I particularly like this feature. Let's talk more about that. But I was realizing that that was taking way too long to produce that content. And then it was also like remembering people's attention span. Most people aren't going to read a 3,000 to 5,000 word article about a particular course in miniature golf. They just don't have the attention span, nor do I think maybe that interest is there unless they're like a super fan like I am. So basically, I started that in October of 2017, and then transitioned in 2018 to start doing a hole a day. So sharing a picture of a particular hole on a course, and then doing just a brief description on that, keeping it to about 150 to 300 words.
Were you doing that locally near where you lived, or were you traveling far and wide to go to different courses?
It was both. So anytime that we travel around, I try to find courses and do that. It's kind of a neat thing because just because I travel to a course doesn't necessarily mean I have to post about it right away. So I actually have an archive probably about, at this point, 9,000 pictures for posting still to go through. So like I'm not like super concerned about necessarily going to new courses. Like I don't have to at this point. I know that I want to just because for the fun aspect of it, but I have content that's going to last me for years at this point by posting one hole a day with a couple pictures here and there, and then the description about it. And I kind of coined what I was doing like micro posts. So I know like Google in particular, when you're writing content, they want to see like that 2,500 word count for their algorithm and to produce that. But also they want to see consistency and original content. So even though the sizing does matter, I suppose if I did a post every day with 2,500 words, I would just completely be crushing not only that space but other spaces in golf too. But the idea was I just want to keep getting content in front of people and getting that visibility. So I've been posting a hole a day ever since then. And the first year, the end of 2017, I had 10,000 a viewership of 10,000 people looking at it, whether it was going to the site or going through social media and just checking out the posts and things like that.
Was that organic growth that you had, or
yeah,
were you?
Yeah, I've never paid for any ads or marketing on my stuff. I've done everything on my own.
I just real quick for the audience, if they don't know what organic means, that is where you're just posting the content. And when you go into Google and do a search, you rank highly because of the words in the post. So I just want to explain that to the audience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's where I kind of went. I did, tagging keywords specifically and phrases to help, what are people searching for? So it was really easy for that because there's a lot of ways that you can call mini golf, miniature golf, crazy golf, goofy golf, all those different keywords I can play around with. So I have a lot of wordplay that I can use, and it allows me to track back for all of those different categories of that. And also because it's miniature golf is still golf, there's tagging in that area. And then the fact that it's a business and entrepreneurship and marketing itself, I can always pull in those too. So it allows me to reach a lot of different audiences with just the different wordplay that I use. So in 2017, for those 2 months there getting started, I was pretty impressed that my viewership was at 10,000 people, whether they're looking on Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, or going directly to the site. I thought that was pretty cool that, with all the content that's out there, there was people that were checking out my stuff and were interested enough to be returning back every time I was posting something, and reading through that. But then when I changed my strategy, I was starting to see those numbers going up, which is what we all plan on that to do. So in 2018, my growth went to 50,000
Wow.
viewership in that whole year, which again, I was just kind of blown away that, I was doing something right, that people were reading my stuff and interested enough to come back, and just kept working on it. So then in 2019, at the beginning of the year, was when I was starting to realize my transition out of the Fortune 500 company. So I was working at the Fortune 500 company, working on mini golf reviews at the same time. I was starting to see some pickup with mini golf reviews. So I wanted to see, well, what else could I do to really be just a full-time miniature golfer, play in tournaments around the country when I have an opportunity to do so, playing leagues, that kind of stuff. So be a professional miniature golfer, not necessarily always playing in tournaments for money or things like that, but playing mini golf as my profession. So I know there's kind of an interesting tie with that, but I do play in tournaments and things like that. But really the more professional mini golf is I'm playing mini golf as my career, and then writing about it, and then doing other elements with mini golf. So so when I decided to leave the company, the thing that was holding me back is I had my student loans, but I was very aggressive with my student loans. So I was set to finish paying that off in March of 2019. So I paid off my student loans in 3 years. So
Wow.
I was very aggressive with that, because I knew, like everyone always talks about, like, that's like the only debt that you just can't get rid of. Even like if you die, it goes on to your family members and things like that. So I was like, I need to take care of this, because that's going to be what is holding me back for trying different things and exploring career-wise. So was very aggressive on that. I think I was at one point I was doing like 10 or 15 times the minimum payment, just to
Wow.
just kick it down as quickly as I could, making a lot of sacrifices because of that. I swore after I graduated from school I wasn't really going to have ramen ever again, but that changed pretty quickly with trying to do that, because I really wanted to get towards my dream, and it was within grasp. So I got that paid off, and then I had made my announcement that I would be leaving the company at the end of April. So actually tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary of leaving, April 26th.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. So it's kind of crazy that's where I am now. It's a year coming up. But besides the mini golf reviews, which I want to point out too, that since I left and did that full time, I went from that 50,000 in 2018 to over 3 million viewership in this last year. Yeah. And that's just because I have more time to dedicate towards that. I'm starting to get more well known in the community with miniature golf, and I'm really posting some really cool content with it. I've been able to do a little bit more traveling and showcase some of the best courses that the country has to offer. And one of the things that is really important to me is it's not just what people perceive as the most popular courses. So wherever you go, there's always, you can do a Google search, say miniature golf near me, and you'll see, well, what's the top rated courses. Well, a lot of instances, the course owners are not digital at all. They don't have any online presence. So either you have to know with locals, word of mouth, or you just have to really do some deep searching, like even going back to like a phone book for that area type of thing to find some stuff. And those courses typically have some really unique designs. They're usually homemade, so the course owner themselves built it instead of hiring out a contractor, things like that. So they're very important to play those to play those courses and share those courses with people. So sometimes I've found that I've helped them get discovered by other people when they're visiting a certain area.
One of the added side benefits then is that you're helping small local mom and pop businesses to
Yep,
grow their
absolutely.
base without them themselves being in a digital environment. That's impressive.
Right. And they don't have to pay for that, which is something that's, super important to them, because, a lot of cases it's like this is a retirement thing that they put together because they enjoyed it, they thought it was fun, have the grandkids be able to play and still bring in some income, because the miniature golf courses are quite profitable if done in well. And because basically it's just the initial front cost, you purchase the property, land, or lease it, and then the maintenance is relatively low, so it's just keep sending people through and keep bringing in income, and it's a good time. So and it's for all age demographics and everything like that. So anybody can go play miniature golf, which is again another reason why I love it, is it's not set for a specific type of person. Like I also laughed and say that professional miniature golf is the only sport that I could be a professional athlete with my body figure. So
I always said mine was bowling.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So basically, a lot of people have dreams and aspirations to be like, I'm going to be a professional basketball player, professional football player, professional baseball player. And the opportunity to be one of those is so slim. It's kind of devastating how it can crush people with that. With this, basically, you just got to get out there and start playing, and you just improve along the way. And that's what's really cool about it. You become a professional just because you want to be a professional and you practice at it. I mean, not that all those other things don't require practice. I'm just saying that it's easier to have that skill level rise with this than with a professional sport where it might be a time crunch. Like you might only have a certain window that you can perform at your peak, whether it's like in your early mid 20s, late 20s, but after that you might not be able to do that sport for too much longer. Mini golf, you can do that from basically when you get out of the womb all the way up till the day you die. So that's what's really cool about it. Working with Mini Golf Reviews, a lot of good opportunities come from that. I actually got sponsored by a couple companies, and my biggest sponsor is a company called Night Sports Spectrum. So basically, or Night Sports USA, and they created something called the Spectrum golf ball, which is their big cool product, which I'm going to show you right now. So what's cool about it is you actually take like a light on your phone, and you have your golf ball. You can actually turn on your golf ball. So as you can see, this is blue, but now here's where it gets really cool. As you take a light, you can change the color. So now we're green or red. I mean, it's just a really cool product. And what's really cool is it's great for golf, but really they had found that really the industry that's utilizing this the most is the miniature golf industry. And they just so happened to talk to one of the best experts in the country on that. So I actually now work as a consultant for them as their mini golf expert. So when I travel around the country, I bring a bunch of those with me, talk to course owners and show them the ball, give them a ball. It's kind of a neat business card. And then talk about the opportunities that can go with that, which is basically, you can add a couple hours, extra hours of operation at night, have kind of a neat experience like Friday night glow night or whatever, like cosmic bowling with the bowling industry, things like that. You can also charge more to do that kind of thing because it's kind of a special event, and it just allows for different opportunity for those miniature golf courses to have. And what's also really interesting is you could play a course 100 times, and you at that point you might be sick of it. Well, most people would be, but I wouldn't be. But you play that so many times, but then when you play at night and you're using one of those golf balls, it's a completely different experience. You can't play the course like you normally would. Like you can't necessarily see so well where the bank shot is or playing the curves. You just gotta do your best to get the ball in the hole. So it is a really neat and customized experience with that. And I think that's where the industry is pushing towards. So it was really neat to connect with them and have that opportunity with mini golf reviews, at least.
For those of you that are listening, I know you're not going to see this video. We're recording by Zoom, and the audio is going to get stripped out. But he had this little golf ball, and all he did was took his phone and tapped it to the golf ball, and it just lit it up into these different colors, and it's really, really cool. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes so everybody can find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and actually, just to clarify too, it wasn't that I just tapped my phone. It was I used the light on my phone. So I used the
Absolutely.
light and swiped over, which they have a sensor in there, and that's how you activate it and change the colors. But they actually, one of the suggestions I had starting working with them is like, the phone is great, but there was confusion initially that you're supposed to use like an app on your phone to activate your ball. And they were like, no, 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 it's just using your light on that. So I suggested, we should look at different like types of flashlights and things available on the market. So I actually suggested these little tiny keychain lights with an LED bulb that were
Oh,
so, like
brilliant.
basically like I mean, I fit them on my keys and everything, and they started to include those into the packaging as well, so people could have an activation light, or they could still use their phone. But that helped with some of that confusion, and they said that ever since doing that, they've had increase in sales because it made it easier to also have just that activation light on hand.
Awesome. There's two
Yeah.
things that you talked about that I want to dig into a little bit. The first one that I'll mention, but what I want to talk about second, was having the golf ball be a unique business card. So I love that. It's a very unique form of marketing. I'm a student of marketing and absolutely love it. I want to dig into that. But first, I want to go back. You said you had picked up a sponsorship. So one of the questions I had coming into this was, how do you monetize being a professional mini golfer and
Sure.
or in this case, a blogger? So how do you monetize what you're doing?
Sure. So I do also have another business with miniature golf that we'll get into, but just with mini golf reviews. So where that comes into play is mostly it's the marketing value. So I can do sponsored posts, which is a good opportunity for me to make revenue, because with my audience reach, it does have significant impact on doing a post. I mean, I could do a post that maybe isn't related to mini golf, but that's just not really my areas. But however, that doesn't mean I can't find products that have some connection to it. So recently, before all the COVID-19 stuff, I had one last show that was at that weekend right before pretty much everything got locked down, and that was a golf show, and which is great because I'm connecting with all these other businesses that are complementary to golf. And one of the companies was a sunscreen company, and I actually have I get an allergic reaction to a lot of sunscreens. So I was a little bit hesitant at first when he came by and said, "Hey, check out the sunscreen and all that," and he gave me a sample. But the thing was, it worked really well for me, and it had like that dry feel to it. And then I also didn't break out in hives or anything. So I was like, "This is great." So I said, "Hey, is this something that you'd be interested in doing like a sponsorship partnership with?" And they said yeah. So I sent them my sheet with all my information on how, like, what I can do and different types of posts and shout outs and things like that with my social media, and they're very interested in that. It's just obviously is a kind of a tough time for everybody to invest in whatever type of marketing, things like that, just because people aren't buying or selling. Like, it's kind of hard to sell sunscreen right now when nobody's pretty much
Right.
going outside. So I get that aspect of it, but that doesn't mean I don't have that connection. So I just wanted to kind of explain, like, just because I'm all about mini golf doesn't mean that I don't make these other connections with other businesses too. But then also it's I also get the paid per click on my site with because WordPress is great for being able to monetize your website. So there's that, and that's just kind of a smaller stream coming in, but that's consistently coming in. So basically what's great about that is that pays for the website to be active throughout the year. So basically that's my entire business cost, other than going to the courses and playing. But even then, working with different sponsors and things like that uh, helps balance that all out too. So
With the
um,
pay-per-click, you're talking about Google AdSense, right?
yep. So as people go to the go to my page, there are ads that are on there, but if they have ad blocker, obviously that they can get past that. But Google AdSense basically tries to figure out if there's any ads that relate to your content, and then sometimes they just throw up random stuff too, which sometimes I do sometimes want to kind of get away from that just because sometimes there's ads that don't go with my message or mission with the product, but at the same time it's like it's kind of hard to go away from that other than doing like a paid subscription. And I think I could have some people do that. I'm not sure. Like I wanted to keep it accessible for everyone and not have that paid element to that website on its own. But I mean, that's something that's kind of cool, as I can explore that option if I really want to, because I make the decisions on that.
For the audience that's listening, so Google AdSense, if you've ever gone to a website like, say, weather.com, and you see all those little box ads around them, those aren't put there by weather.com. It's typically done with a Google snippet of code that pulls in ads that would be appropriate based on your search history and websites that you've gone to. So just kind of give you a high level view of what we're talking about.
Right. So there's that. Also, the sponsored post. So if someone wants, even if they don't necessarily are related to it, but maybe they know of a mini golf opportunity, like maybe there's a course that they're partnering with for a certain thing, and they want to help promote that. I can run an ad, which is generally relatively cheap for that. For me, I haven't done a ton of those. I've done a couple, but so for me, it's figuring out the pricing that makes sense for both my time, my reach, and then what's a good rate for working with a bunch of businesses. So that's another area that I can also do that with, and that's cool too because WordPress makes it really easy to do that. You take your post, you pin it to the top of the page, you highlight it and show so people can easily find that. And then social media, it's just boom, you just throw that out there and all that. And then you can, if you wanted to go even further, you can do like sponsored posting on social media, but that's a paid expense. You would pass that off to the client too, just because, like, okay, you pay me $150 to do a sponsored post. I'm not going to put $150 on Instagram to sponsor it because then it's
Right.
nothing. So like if they wanted to further have that reach, that's how that works. Um, and then just also in playing in tournaments too. So having the opportunity to play for money is another thing too. But it can be really competitive, and even if you're a really good player, you have off days, and people can just come in and just crush it too. So you can't rely on that, but that's kind of a nice little extra, and it's fun anyway. So that's really with mini golf reviews where that goes. I also kind of created like favorite brands and like a business network type of thing. So if there's companies that I particularly like, but maybe I don't necessarily have like a sponsorship partnership, but I still like the company, and maybe they'll do a shout out or something on social media too. I kind of create a network of those businesses as well, just so people can find them. Because I mean, everyone has the same problem: is how do I reach people, find people, all that kind of thing. So try to help work with other businesses as well. And that's kind of what prompted my other business that I had formed. And this was really, besides paying off my student loans, this was really what was going to confirm that I could handle doing this as a full-time career. And I created a business called Jackpot. So it's a play on the words of jackpot because it's a traveling miniature golf hole-in-one contest that people play for a cash prize. So my the official name is Jackpot, and then my tagline is where you always putt for dough. So it plays on the adage of in golf where you drive for show, putt for dough. So what's cool about that is it allows me to also design and build courses and bring those around and bring mini golf to people opposed to them having to go to mini golf. So I can get in front of people that wouldn't normally be necessarily the mini golf audience, or maybe forgot about miniature golf or things like that, and just getting it to be present in their mind. But also it was really important for me to also be a mission-based business. So at every event that I do, it's also a fundraiser to support a local nonprofit or a nonprofit organization throughout the country. So it's bringing in money for people to play because it costs to play, and then money goes back into the jackpot for people to win. But then also it's the money goes into the fundraiser too. So I'll typically do a percentage around like 20 to 50%, depending on the organization and any arrangements that we are able to work out. And that's worked out really well. And that also gives me the opportunity to be at different events for free, because I'm donating to the nonprofit, and I ask in my inquiry about an event, would you mind waiving a vendor fee so I can invest that money into designing the whole around your event so it gets more attraction and entertainment value, which then brings more money in for the nonprofit. And that's gone really well. People have loved to do that, and it's unique. I know there's nobody else doing what I'm doing because I'm the first one out there doing it. Not that there aren't mini golf rental companies or things like that, but they're just a full, or they're a 3-hole course or a 6-hole course or a 9-hole course or an 18-hole course. But it's just playing the course. So my element allows them to play for cash. And then also I have a bunch of other cool prizes and stuff that I work with small businesses to either offer coupons or their swag or anything along those lines. And I can be really creative with arranging that. So I have like my own products like drawstring bags and cups, and partnered with a company called Great Plate. So they make a plate where you can hold your drink in the middle and have your food all around it. So and they're actually out of Wisconsin, so they're local, but they're a nationwide brand, and they've been loving what I'm doing, and I love what they're doing, and we've met at a bunch of different events. So it's kind of a neat way to stay connected with them and have some really cool products that people get excited about. The light up golf balls, like I had shown before, that's something that people really get into. And I'm always just working on trying to figure out what is a good prize to give away. So I have like chip clips and glow in the dark wristbands, and I'd learned early on that there are people that don't like certain items, and then there are people that love certain items. So it's kind of experimenting with getting different items and having people win those and see the reactions that people have, to know that, like, okay, some people aren't really interested in winning a branded plastic cup, but all people have been really interested in winning a glow in the dark drink koozie. So now I know that that's an item that I definitely got to get more of, because that I sold out of, but people had won, but now I have quite a line of cups still around. So, but it's still great, because even if, it's not necessarily the favorite prize for people to win, I can still take that out of the line, but then I still have something to give people when I'm talking with different businesses and things like that, and promoting that.
You seem like a case study in marketing, because you're doing your own split testing with giveaway items.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I mean, the money that comes in for people playing pays for those items. And for me to get the business started was just out of my own savings, but I'm actually profitable even though it hasn't been a year operation yet. It's not like I'm making 6 figures off of the business, but I'm actually able to make, a sustainable income from that, keep both businesses alive. My wife is able to work. She works from home. She actually works at the Fortune 500 company that I had left. She's a design analyst. And so there's that great connection still there. I mean, I left the company on good terms. So, if things don't work out, I do have that as a backup plan. But I've always had this belief that I could really make this be something. And right now it's just like, I'm just on the verge of like really hitting big, I think, because there's some big opportunities that are coming up this summer, even though with COVID-19 it's still happening. So can't really disclose too much about that, but that's going to be my big turning point, where I become like a household name for miniature golf. You think miniature golf, you're going to think Mr. Mini Golf. So that's where this kind of becomes something pretty cool. Also with COVID-19 happening, I've had to, change my plan for how to operate Jackpot, at least, because that's entirely event based. So I travel around to different events in Wisconsin at this point. I'd love to expand further into the country and hire people and give people opportunity to, operate a business as well, franchise, I suppose. I do have people, miniature golf people, interested in New Jersey and California and Texas. So there's opportunity there to make Jackpot a nationwide business as well. But for me, I can't do the events right now. So I had to kind of get creative with everything going on. So I recently met a golfing professional out in California, and she is a candidate for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Woman of the Year. And she was telling me about that, and with my passion to help other people and businesses and nonprofit organizations, I told her, when I get back home and to Wisconsin, I'll see if I can figure out how to do some sort of donation with you with Jackpot. But then everything happened, and now there was no event. So I still wanted to figure out how I could support her. So we came up with this concept that we launched last week called Putt for Pledges. So basically, it's a virtual putting contest that people do at their home, and they get people to pledge, like, oh, for every putt you make, you'll get $1 from me, or things like that, for 10 putts. And then that's going to be on May 9th, which is National Miniature Golf Day. And so far, it's been doing really well. We're over $1,200 raised at this point. People that participate, they get one of those light up golf balls. They get a shirt that I just shared the preview of yesterday. They get a Putt for Pledges sticker and a Jackpot drawstring bag to put everything into. And it's free to sign up for people to be a participating putter, but they design a miniature golf hole in their house or in their yard or at their business location, or if it allowed, they can do it at a golf course or a miniature golf course. And the cool thing is, we're going to do a voting for the people's choice of their favorite miniature golf hole. So people do a live stream on Instagram or Facebook or Twitch or whatever streaming platform that they're comfortable with, and then use the hashtag Putt for Pledges. Then they're eligible to win a great prize with that. But people can still participate even if they don't want to do the live stream. They just won't be eligible for the people's choice unless they take a picture too and do use the hashtag. But that's going to be a great opportunity to raise some money. I just was did a story on the local news yesterday for that. That's going to air this Wednesday coming up. So that's an opportunity to reach more people locally for me in Wisconsin. But we're also talking with PGA Tour professionals, talking with their agents to get them involved. We're talking with celebrities to get them involved. So we really would like to see, how big can we get this, especially for being the first of its kind, no one doing a virtual event like this, and already have other people interested in doing their own campaign after the May 9th one. So it's already starting to become a big success with that, and it's a great way to support different nonprofits and things like that. Especially LLS is a really important one. I had a friend diagnosed with lymphoma in August of last year. He's actually has his final scans on May 8th, the day before the competition, from chemo, and being able to put this in to help support him is important to me. I've also lost a lot of family members and friends to cancer, and people need to remember that there was cancer before COVID-19, and there'll still be cancer after COVID-19. So, and those are the people that are going to be one of the most at-risk people in general from the whole thing. So we gotta do what we can to help those people so they can thrive in this time instead of being afraid for their survival. So that's what's kind of a neat way that I've been able to adapt my business and get innovative, but still follow my mission to help other people and businesses.
That is awesome. It's been absolutely fascinating to hear your story and to see how you took what most people would figure to be just a pastime or something fun to do into a real business and lifestyle. It's absolutely amazing. You are a living model of, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So kudos
Absolutely.
and congratulations to you for all of that.
Thank you.
I want to be respectful of your time. We're up here at the end of the interview. How can the audience reach out and connect with you if they want to follow you or figure out how to get involved?
Sure, absolutely. So you can check out both websites. You can go to minigolfreviews.com as well as jack-putt.com. You can also find me on social media with Jack Putt or Jack Putt LLC or Mr. Minigolf, and also as Karl Barth. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. I'm on all the platforms, so you can find me.
And we'll put all of those into the show notes, so you can head over to the totalfreedompodcast.com and find that under this episode. Karl, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the Total Freedom Podcast.
Yep, great. Thanks for having me, John. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Total Freedom with John Racine at www.totalfreedompodcast.com.